Hello and welcome to the inside track for the first GDT event of May. You'll notice there's someone different standing in for John and Edwin this week. My name's Tim Newton and I'm the sales manager here at Maxim. Before we get into the detail of the event that was held overnight, I just want to wish all the mothers happy Mother's Day for this coming Sunday. Moving on to the results, whole milk powder was particularly surprising overnight with a rise of 2.4% overall. Particularly interesting in the forward contracts with August shipments rising 5.3%. What that probably tells us is a lot of customers were short covered or looking for a bit of a decline in whole milk powder pricing, which we probably saw across futures markets and the GDT Pulse that was held last week. So an interesting period for whole milk powder where some people were probably waiting for a bit of a discount to the current market and had to step in to cover their short position. Looking now at skim milk powder, it was a relatively uneventful event again for skim milk powder, rising only 0.4% in the prior event. It, like whole milk powder, was probably a little bit of a surprise in that it had a very soft pulse event previous week. So a lot of people were anticipating further declines in skim, but it looks relatively firm out into the new season. Looking now at butterfat, specifically butter, it rose 2.1% in the index overnight. A significant premiums being paid for the prompt shipment of butter. It rose 4.8%, where new season butter declined 4.1%. It'll be interesting to see whether customers hold out longer for lower prices or accept that butter price is here to stay, particularly when they look at the US pricing, which is still slightly above or at a premium to New Zealand when we're looking at shipping destinations like Southeast Asia or the Middle East. So it'll be a bit of a waiting game for a lot of customers on butter. Looking at the Australian milk fat market, there's a lot of cream availability in the market at the moment, and this is primarily driven by a strong availability of milk. I think milk in March was up 2.3% overall in Australia, with a lot of farmers taking advantage of the strong price relative to what the expectations of the new season price are. So in terms of cream supply, it's abundant in Australia and probably doesn't reflect the global market in terms of the butterfat pricing. Looking at AMF, it rose 1.2% overnight. Also, probably a little bit surprising. Not so much for a lot of people that are seeing these prices elevated, but also remaining at this level. But some customers either thought or maybe hoped that the AMF price would start to decline, particularly into the new season. What we're seeing now is a record high price for AMF in the last 5 years. And even if we look back 12 months ago, it's risen significantly since the May events in 2023. Demand is the main driver for this rise in AMF pricing. We're seeing reasonable availability out of New Zealand with good milk flow or good pasture conditions generating some positive milk flow, but demand, particularly in the Middle East, driving a lot of these price rises. It'll be interesting to see whether the new season price starts to come off a little bit or whether demand is maintained at this 7,000 and above levels. Turning to cheese now, we saw cheese have a big leap up 8% overnight, effectively erasing a lot of the declines in the previous event. Interesting to see with cheese that a lot of customers might be short covered and looking to New Zealand to fill some gaps they have in their supply chain, with US pricing remaining relatively firm at the current point, even though they are in towards the peak of their milk season. So cheese will be an interesting watch in the next couple of events, whether US price starts to soften and more shipments head into Southeast Asia, or whether people see advantage in buying New Zealand with a shorter lead time and a relatively good price. Looking at WPC and WPI, demand for those two products remains really strong, even though the prices are at record highs when we look at the past 12 months. We're seeing a lot of manufacturers well sold forward, which is making the short-term demand really tight and inflating these spot prices for those two products. Going forward, it'll be interesting to see whether the cheese production, particularly out of the US with relatively high prices, starts to feed a lot more supply on the WPC and WPI, but certainly for the next 2 to 3 months, the prices are expected to remain elevated. Once again, thanks for tuning into Inside Track. We look forward to talking to you all again between now and the next GDT event, and have a great Mother's Day.